I step back to chase time now. I'm told you might be waiting by the sun. I drive my state of mind to summer comfort daydreams in your eyes. I'll be putting dreams in your eyes, and we'll be losing track of time as we dance in the summer haze. I'll be putting dreams in your eyes, and we can fade into the soul as we move in the summer breeze. They undress, her fingers press his lips, play snakes and ladder. 3 weeks pass by and hang like fading portraits in the sun. I'll be putting dreams in your eyes, and we'll be losing track of time as we dance in the summer haze. I'll be putting dreams in your eyes, and we can fade into the soul as we move in the summer heat. Dance, dance, dance.
Good afternoon, Dr. Susan Gallardo. We came across your study about sustainability issue and solutions on coal ash management in the ASEAN region. Can you tell us something about your study?
Thank you, Edward, and I'm glad that you are interested in the study that we have been doing in collaboration with Asian Institute of Technology and University of Paris East and De La Salle University. The study actually involves the following issues on coal-fired power plants. One is the voluminous amount of ash generated by the coal-fired power plant. As you know, when you burn coal, it produces 2 types of ash. We have the fly ash, which are lighter in weight and they usually are emitted as particulate matter. And then we have also the bottom ash, which are heavier in weight and settle at the bottom of the furnace. The second issue, aside from the voluminous amount of coal ash, is the heavy metal content as well as radioactive material content of the coal ash, both the fly ash and the bottom ash. This heavy metal content, when present in quantity way above the standard set by the law, in our country, we make use of the US EPA standard, could be classified as hazardous. Okay? And when it becomes hazardous, then it means it has some deleterious effects on health. And these heavy metal contents are found in the coal ash. When you burn this is emitted as gaseous, in the gaseous form, or it can also be found in both the fly ash and the bottom ash. So this is the second issue that we would like to address in this study. And of course, the third issue is the way by which the ash is being managed. In many countries, including the Philippines, the coal-fired power plants usually make use of a dam site where the ash generated are actually just simply dumped. So you will see in the background a picture of a dam site which is actually generated by a partner power plant for this particular project. And you can see the mountain of ash it generates. So, these are the three issues that our project would like to address. So, let's go to the first issue, the voluminous quantity of ash generated. As you all know, plants are here to generate power for consumption of electricity, for generation of electricity for the consumption of the public. And right now, there are more than 20 coal-fired power plants in the country. And this is still increasing because of the recent tsunami that hit Tokyo, or Japan rather, and the nuclear power plant was actually badly affected. So, a lot of plans to put up future nuclear power plants are now shelved off, and they're now switching back to the use of coal. In the Philippines, as I mentioned, aside from the more than 20 coal-fired power plants, we are now putting up more in the future. So, coal is actually second in rank in terms of our source of power in the country, and still increasing in quantity. So, as you increase the amount of coal that you burn, you are going to increase also the amount of coal ash that you are going to generate. So that's a big problem. The second issue that we would like to address here is this heavy metal content of the ash. The heavy metals like mercury, chromium, zinc, lead are found in most of the coal that we use in the country. Example, our partner power plant make use of two types of coal. They make use of a local coal from Semirara, and in most cases they also make use of coal coming from Indonesia. So it's an Indonesian coal. Fortunately, the Indonesian coal is cleaner than that of the Semirara ash in terms of the heavy metal content. And our partner power plant also realizes that if they make use of the conventional type of furnace in burning their fuel, it will generate hazardous type of ash. So what they're using is what we call a green type of furnace. So they call it an environmentally friendly technology. This is a circulating fluidized bed boiler. And this type of boiler generates smaller amount of sulfur dioxide and NOx in the atmosphere. But still, it generates both the fly ash, same amount of fly ash and bottom ash, except that the characteristic of the ash coming from a conventional furnace or boiler is different from the characteristics of the ash in terms of heavy metal contents of the one coming from a circulating fluidized bed boiler. We subjected this type of ash, these two types of ash generated from Indonesian ash, Indonesian coal and Semirara coal, to a TCLP test to determine whether the ash is hazardous or not. And we are very happy to inform the public, especially those who live nearby our partner power plant, that this ash that they generate pass the TCLP test, making use of the standard set by US EPA. Meaning, the ash generated by the power plant is non-hazardous. So we can easily now utilize the ash without the hazardous the hazardous effects that it will have on our health. The third issue that we would like to address in our project is actually to develop what we call a sustainable solution to manage this ash. My husband would probably tell you how they address this in their civil engineering department. So, but what I would like to talk about is how the chemical engineering department of De La Salle University is addressing the issue on the proper management or sustainable management of the ash. Right now, we are in partnership with the University of Paris East. We are actually developing a solution that is biological in nature. We call it biological leaching or bioleaching. With the use of microorganisms, we are trying bacteria now, and probably this year we are now going to try fungi. We are, with the use of bacteria or fungi, will be able to leach out or extract the trace elements, specifically also the valuable trace elements, which consist also of the heavy metal content of the ash, and recover it also by some separation technique in the future. The reason we are doing this is because when the ash actually is exposed to rain, as we all know, our rain now is acidic. We form what we call acid rain. And when acid rain gets in touch with the ash, it will be able to leach the heavy metal and could contaminate groundwater. And by removing the trace elements, including the heavy metal content of the ash, by the biological leaching, will make sure that the ash, when disposed of in the dam site, will now be free from these harmful elements that could have effects on our health. So the other solutions that we are doing is actually to make use of this in producing what we call material of engineering. A group of mechanical engineering faculty member and students, specifically graduate students, and our Department of Chemical Engineering are collaborating to produce what we call geopolymers. So this geopolymer make use of both the fly ash and the bottom ash to produce a material that will be able to have the right compressive strength and could also have some kind of insulating property or heat resistant material that can be used for insulation. So these are actually the projects that we have, so that we'll be able to address and address the issues that I just mentioned, and come up with sustainable solutions from this coal ash. Okay, so is there any other question that you would like to ask me, or would you like to clarify other things regarding the project?
Would you clarify on how you will be able to optimize your maximum yield?
Okay, so we are actually making use of certain optimization method, and what we do is, for example, see the effect of the liquid to solid ratio that we will be using, and this liquid that we will use contains what we call the microorganism, like the bacteria that we will be using in our biological leaching process. Or we can compare it also with fungi and see which of the two can yield the maximum amount of the trace element that can be extracted from the coal ash. The second is, for example, taking into consideration the effect of temperature in getting the maximum yield. And the third is the effect of the pH, because microorganism lives on the right temperature and the right pH, and of course the nutrients that they actually get from the coal ash. Of course, yes. In fact, our study will do some kind of optimization. We'll use some optimization technique to obtain the maximum yield that we can obtain from the coal ash of these trace elements.
For more on how this impacts countries, specifically the Philippines, I'm joined by Dr. Andrew Mason in Hawaii. He's a senior fellow at the East-West Center and a professor of economics at the University of Hawaii. Professor, welcome to the show and thank you for joining us. Let me ask you this. This population, some would argue that it's a great thing for a country to add more and more people because ultimately they become workers and that helps GDP and so on. But there's another aspect to it as well, that these folks will have to be taken care of as well, especially in its early age. Which way is better?
Well, there's no doubt that you, with population growth, add more workers, but you have to add children first. And that's a big issue for the Philippines, is they have so many children. Children are wonderful for those of us who have them, but they are not productive, and they certainly cost a lot.
When you think of a country like the Philippines, they've been growing just fine. They haven't had any major population issues. For them, does it make sense just to continue, as that gentleman that was speaking earlier said, that they wanted more people being born because it would take care of more of the elderly folks later on in that age? That's one of the strategies. Does that make sense?
Well, okay, so I think the aging issue is further down the road, and that's something that we should talk about a bit. But right now, what's happening in the Philippines is they're not getting the same kinds of benefits that other countries in Southeast Asia are receiving. So in Thailand and Indonesia and even in Vietnam, the number of workers is growing a lot faster than the population. That's less true in the Philippines, and so they're not getting that boost to economic growth. If the new policy is effective and women decide to have fewer children, it will be a boon to economic growth in the Philippines, something we call the demographic dividend.
Does the government, and this pertains to all governments, not just in the Philippines, any place where you have so many kids being born, I mean, there's obviously an infrastructural need, not just hospitals, you need more doctors, you need more caretakers. There's a lot of things that go into raising kids. Is the government, are they ready for that? Do they have that infrastructure in place, these developing countries?
Well, a lot of countries like the Philippines have been dealing with large child populations for a while, and so parents have, and so I think that they are trying to do their best. They're struggling with it, but we know that as people have fewer children, that they are able to devote that infrastructure. Both the government but also families are able to devote more resources to each child. And so that's one of the great benefits of having lower fertility and slower population growth, is that you can have a great deal more investment, especially in education. And we've seen this throughout the region. We see that in especially East Asia, in China, Japan, Korea. Thailand, all are investing much more in education for each child that was true in the past.
I am glad you brought up China, because I was going to ask you, they're talking about basically changing the one-child policy, and that's pretty much already more or less a foregone conclusion. But there are some critics out there that would argue that exactly what you just said is that you don't have the focus on the family on just the one child, and now you have to spread that around. In terms of China, where does it lie in terms of demographic going forward for their future if they move ahead with this?
Well, I'm in favor of relaxing the one-child policy, and I'm glad to see that China is doing that. The fertility rate now is about 1.5 births per woman, and I think China would benefit from somewhat higher fertility. I don't think there's any reason that China needs to panic about aging. They have a long time, and I think they're very well positioned to deal with aging issues.
All right.
I think China's doing the right thing, and they should continue down that road.
Dr. Andrew Mason, you win the award for the best-looking background on today's show from the University of Hawaii there. Thank you very much, Professor of Economics.
Beneath these blue waters that cradle the islands of the Philippines lies the world's richest marine ecosystem. Vast coral reefs, seagrass beds, and dense mangroves, bursting with color and life, line the coasts and depths of its islands. It is nestled in the so-called Coral Triangle, which is home to more than 3/4 of the world's coral species and over 2,000 marine plants and animals. The natural abundance of the seas benefits more than half of the country's 98 million citizens, mostly farmers and fisherfolk living on coastal lands. Our enchanting islands are among the world's top tourist destinations. Their pristine white sand and crystal clear waters attract thousands of tourists each year. Reefs nurture life in the sea. They are natural habitats for thousands of marine species. A square kilometer of healthy coral reef may yield to about 30 tons of fish every year. Reefs are intricately linked to mangrove forests, seagrass beds, and countless other ecosystems. Nature has truly blessed us with rich marine resources, but these natural treasures are not forever bountiful, and the risk of losing them pervades through human abuse, neglect, apathy, and inaction. In the past 30 years, our coastal ecosystems have significantly declined. Now, 70% of our mangroves are damaged. 20% of our seagrass are destroyed. Nearly 90% of coral reefs are endangered. Only 1% of these underwater rainforests remain pristine. It would take many years for these corals to form, grow, and flourish anew. And the mass of fish species in our coasts has dwindled to 1/10 since the 1940s. Overfishing, destructive fishing, urbanization, and pollution. All these degrade our marine ecosystems. Unpredictable weather extremes brought about by climate change threaten even more marine biodiversity as they destroy the coral reefs. To destroy coral reefs is to endanger the entire marine life. For us, its destruction affects the livelihood of our coastal communities, our food supply, our tourism, and our economy. We need our seas to live. In the 1970s, dynamite and cyanide fishing were common in Apo Island in Negros Oriental. As coral habitats were destroyed, their fish dwindled, and the community risked losing their very source of food and income. It was a turning point for the people of Apo Island. In 1982, the town adopted a marine conservation program that stopped these unsustainable fishing ways.
The intervention there was a small fish sanctuary. At the time, it was about 6 hectares. And it was a way of focusing the people to the fact that they should start looking at the sea as a limited resource, not an open resource.
Our main objective was to help deploy coral modules. These are artificial structures made of natural dead coral so that you can actually encourage new growth. And these were deployed inside the no-take zone marine sanctuary. The main goal there is first to help provide habitats for the fishes who used to live in living coral. And it's also to stabilize the rubble, wherein you are encouraging new growth without being damaged again.
Parts of the island were made into a marine sanctuary, where locals took turns to guard the coasts from any fishing. Mangrove reforestation, fisheries management, and the establishment of a marine protected area, vigilance, close monitoring, and intervention from the government and local folks are needed to stop persistent illegal fishing and unregulated shipping.
The fisherman itself, para mga bantay dagat lahat eh. While they go fishing, they are also watching their resources, their territory, that no other fishermen or illegal fishermen that will fish and destroy their resources.
After 3 years, the sanctuary and its neighboring areas steadily produced more fish.
Sa umpisa, parang hindi pa masyadong na-influence yung mga tao. Importante na mag-patrol kayo. Kasi para makita ng mga tao, gusto mong ipakita yung benefits, yung benepisyo ng mga tao. And then this kind of program, it takes time to get the benefits. 5 years, 7 years.
Through discipline and cooperation in the community, the marine ecosystem fully recovered after 10 years. The long and difficult path to recovery has taught the people of Apo Island to favor and apply more sustainable ways of fishing.
I think Apo Island has become a model for marine reserves, not only in the Philippines but also around the world. I think we are very proud of that, and we are continually trying to get more information so that we can improve the management of our fisheries through marine reserves.
This means that, even if part of Apo has been damaged, especially the historical marine sanctuary, where everything started in conservation of the marine resources in the Philippines, there's still hope.
They now embrace the much-needed balance in harnessing marine resources and protecting the ecosystems. Similarly, many other coastal communities across the Philippines face the daunting challenge of sustaining their marine resources amid the demands of a modern society and the risk spawned by urbanization and industrialization. We can only become worthy stewards of these natural treasures if we uphold and follow the environmental laws to protect our seas and act now to save our marine ecosystems from its current decline. Nature's inherent capacity for giving life always inspires and brings hope. We too can inspire to nurture life in our seas. Save our marine life now and sustain our children's life today and tomorrow.